So let's talk a bit about Redux. So let's just see what Redux is about, mainly Redux Toolkit. We all know that it's a state management library. Specifically, when you're talking about Redux Toolkit, it's a newer form, unopinionated, of writing Redux. So it basically simplifies the way that you used Redux before. So in a way, it is opinionated with the batteries included. So with Redux Toolkit, you basically have the similar utilities that you had on the old Redux, but what happens now is that you have the concept of a store, reducers, and immutable update logic. So let me just share one simple example of how Redux Toolkit works. This is a diagram representing the state of an app. So you have your view here, which will represent your React Native view, or your div if you're using React. So actions, disperser, reducer, state, and store. So what happens is that when you create an app, normally you'll have an action, you'll have an item in your app which you want to manage the state of it. So to manage the state, you decide that you want to use something like Redux. So that means that you have to actually now define all these concepts within your app. So the way you normally do it is that you'll have a folder called Redux. Your Redux folder will contain a store. The store adds together your Redux logic. It puts together all your reducers into one, which you can then export to your app or your view. Normally your view will be wrapped around the store, so that's why they go in this sequence. Another concept as well that is quite simple to understand is that the state. So the store makes it possible for you to share your state throughout the app. So that means then whatever logic that you've set up, so you normally set up your logic in the reducers, that's why they are within the store. So let's say if you're doing a to-do list, so your to-do will be part of a reducer. Have a reducer which will have add to-dos, and this will take your state and the payload, whatever that is, to append it to your initial state. Then after it's in your initial state, it will be taken to the app. So previously, when you're using React Redux, you had to define actions separately, but with React Redux it's way easier because you can just export your actions that you have defined in your reducers. So what does a disperser do? And also you've seen another concept which should have been here, which is the selector or use selector. With the use selector, you're taking items from your state, you're actually putting them to the individual React or React Native components. And then with the dispatcher, from your app itself, you want to dispatch an action. You're not taking an action outwards back to your state to update your state. The state is within the store, so that's where you use your dispatch. So let's look at another visual which represents this thing that we're talking about here. So here we see an example whereby the person has, it can be anything, can be a store, can be a game, can be a blog, but in this case we have an API, and then this API is served to your store using the dispatcher and the middlewares. Then from there it goes to your reducers, and then the reducers, what they do is that whatever they do, they'll make changes to the state, which is why you see that there's another open loop here. Whenever like those actions happen, you want to pass them to your main store. The store takes it to the entire app, and then from there it will take whatever change that you make here, it will still be dispatched back to the store, and that's how you are able to work with Redux. I'm just gonna do another example. You can just see it on the next video if you wanna see how it's working in real life. Okay, hope this was helpful. If it wasn't helpful, also you can just note in the comments. Cheers, you have a great one.